Okay, there are 5 major accounts, and these are assets, liability, owner's equity, 4 is revenue, 5 expenses. There are only 5 major accounts. Yung net income is the result if revenue is greater than its expenses. Net loss will result if expenses is greater than the business revenue. Okay, first, assets. What really are assets? Assets refers to the things of value or rights owned by an economic entity. So when we say asset, it is something that provides current, mga future or economic benefits. Magbibigay ng benefits sa business. Okay? Yun ay tinatawag na asset. So, assets can be cash, assets can be properties, assets can be katulad ng land, inventories, vehicle, other branches, those are assets. Because they are things that has value. Yun yung tinatawag na asset. What is? When we say asset, again, it is something that is owed to you. Something that you own. Those are assets. Okay? Next. Liability. Liability refers to the economic obligation of an economic entity. So when we say So when we say naman liabilities, these are money owned. So I owe you, you owe me. Owned or obligation ng business to other parties. These are obligations to other parties interested in the business. So as opposed to assets, assets are value or rights ng business. The opposite to that is the liability, which is economic obligation to other parties. These are examples, mga accounts payable. Those are liabilities. Let's say nag-loan si business sa bangko. Let's say 100,000 pesos, amounting to 100,000 pesos ang niloan ng business sa bangko. The business has the liability, the business has the obligation to pay that certain amount, 100,000 pesos. Yes po. Question. Yes? Mr.
Sir,
Ken?
yung business po ba, yung may liability sa bangko?
Yes, the business has the liability, has the obligation sa bank na hiniraman niya ng a certain amount. Okay? Example, kapag yung business gusto niya i-expand yung kanyang area, gusto niyang mag-branch out, gusto niya mag-additional stock ng kanyang product sa store niya, and hindi enough yung kanyang revenue, ang gagawin niya, maglo-loan siya sa financial institution na katulad ng bangko na nagsusupport sa mga small businesses to fund the business. O let's say, ginrant ng bangko si business ng 100,000 pesos. Okay, therefore, pag nag-grant ka ng bangko ng 100,000 pesos, the business now has the liability, has the obligation to pay that 100,000 pesos amount. Okay? Meaning, the business now has the liability to pay to other parties or to that particular institution, which is yung bank. Okay? Liability. Ibig sabihin, the bank rather owned 100,000 pesos to that business. Meron na siyang pagkakautang. Therefore, meron siyang obligation to pay or fulfill that obligation. Next. Owner's equity. Nakuha po, Mr. Roque? Nakuha siya, naintindihan. Good. Next. Owner's equity tayo. This refers to the interest of the owner in the economic entity. So when we say again, owner's equity, ang owner's equity ay interest, portion, o part ng owner sa business. Si owner, nag-share siya ng sarili niyang property, nag-invest siya, nagbigay siya ng sarili niyang capital, nagbigay siya ng let's say, vehicle niya in the business. So, nako-compute yun. Kung magkano ang share o portion ng owner in the business through owner's equity. Owner's equity, it represents owner's investment in the business. Maybe any amount or any of value. Okay, let's say yung sarili niyang sasakyan, meron siyang let's say 2 sasakyan, isa doon, inilagay niya sa business. Para yung certain vehicle na yon gagamitin pang deliver ng product, pang order ng additional mga supplies. That vehicle, kinukuha yung value. Example, 250,000 worth yung value pa ng sasakyan at that time na ininvest o nilagay ng owner yung sasakyan in the business. Doon na siya gagamitin. Okay, amounting to 250,000 pesos na lang kasi nag-depreciate ang vehicle. Tama? Nag-depreciate, lumiliit yung value. That 250,000 pesos ay na-detect through deducting assets minus liability. So, yung total value ng sasakyan na 250,000 pesos, nalalaman yun, kino-compute yun. Nalalaman kung magkano ang total shares ng owner in the business. Okay? We're talking of small business dito ha. Isa lang yung owner. So, proprietorship, siya yung owner. Siya lang ang may-ari ng business. Okay? You will know kung magkano, if you want to know kung magkano ang shares ng owner in the business, deduct nyo lang yung liability from assets. To check kung magkano ang worth o value na ininvest ng owner sa business. With the help of the accounting equation, asset equals liability plus owner's equity. Ano siya? Tinatawag siyang residual amount. residual claim ng owner in the business. Next, revenue refers to the gross inflow. So, dalawa yan. Isang inflow, isang outflow. Revenue, ito yung mga pera or resources na pumapasok sa business. Inflow, inflow ng any financial resources arising from profit-oriented activities that tend to increase, of course, owner's equity through depending on sales or fees, payment ng customers or clients. Basically, the computation in finding the total revenue ng business ay yung total price or yung total amount ng product, let's say 1,000 pesos, multiply nyo lang by the total number of units or total number of products. Let's say, at first, meron lang akong 20 bottles ng perfume, 20 bottles ng perfume. Therefore, meron lang akong total revenue amounting to 20,000 pesos. Yan ang simple computation in finding revenue. Finding the amount. Or, ito yung other term for revenue is gross income. Gross income. When we say gross, it is the totality without deduction. Wala pang dineduct. Kaya siya gross. Revenue, gross income. Same din yan. Basic computation. Magkano? 1,000 pesos. Multiply lang natin by the total units or total product. On hand, 20 pieces. Total revenue, 20,000 pesos. Now, yung 20,000 pesos ay hindi 20,000 pesos pa rin if you deduct expenses. Now, what are expenses? Expenses are outflow of financial resources. Outflow ng financial resources. These are costs of operation. Cost of operation, let's say kuryente, babayaran yung kuryente, babayaran yung empleyado nyo, babayaran nyo yung nagpagasolina kayo ng sasakyan. Diba? Those are expenses. Those are costs of operations that the company incurs, of course, to generate ng revenue. Hindi lang iti-take home nyo yung buong 20,000 pesos. Kasi out of that 20,000 pesos, that 20,000 pesos comprises of mga deductions na katulad ng expenses, gasolina, pangbayad sa empleyado, pangbayad sa packaging, pangbayad sa other costs, kuryente, telephone, laptop, and so on. And then you will know if the business will earn. Is it net income ba or net loss? Again, if revenue is higher than expenses, there's net income. If expenses is higher, so mas mataas yung cost, mas mataas yung ginagastos or outflow ng pera in the business, therefore, it will incur net loss, negative, lugi ang business. Taxes, mahal ang taxes. Tax deduction. The more na mataas ang revenue, mas mataas ang tax. Ganon ang computation. Hindi pwedeng mataas ang revenue ng business, maliit lang yung kanyang tax. Ang computation ng tax will be based on the business revenue. And so with individual employee, ang tax niya depende kung magkano ang kanyang earnings per month. Sa taxation subject, kino-compute yan. Everyone has to pay their own taxes. Kahit parents nyo, yan, nagbabayad ng tax. Yung bahay na tinitirahan nyo, nagbabayad ng amilyar. Amilyar are taxes. Deductions yun sa total na kinikita. It is a deduction. Yes, Mr. Iganya.
Sure, what does amilyar mean?
Yung amilyar, pangbahay po yun. Term yun ng payment sa, I think it is paid yearly or twice a year. Real property taxes in English term. Amilyar ang term nila sa when you pertain to bahay. Real property taxes kasi yun. Mga payments yun para sa government, of course, lagi nilang sinasabi yan, that the taxes are for the government annual or quarterly improvement ng Philippines. Ayan ang pinaka or main reason kung bakit tayo nagbabayad ng taxes. Mga toll gates, ayan. Bakit tayo nagbabayad ng toll gates? To make the road free from other mga lubak, masikip na daan, diba? To help the government improve or pagandahin yung Philippines. Ayan, for taxes. Amilyar ang term nila for real property taxes. Ayan. If I'm not mistaken, ayan, twice a year ata ang payment ng taxes sa mga tinitirahan natin bahay. Yes, Mr. Okay? You have to.
Sir, magbabayad pa rin po ba ng amilyar kapag fully paid na yung property?
Pag fully paid na ang property, yes, nagbabayad pa rin po. Hindi yan, kaya ka magbabayad pa ng amilyar kasi ang amilyar ay real property tax that is for the improvement or a beautification ng country that will not exempt you if you paid your property in full. That will not exempt you. Hindi na i-exempt na dahil bayad ka na, fully paid. Nagbabayad pa din. Ayan, wait, may question pa. You ask your parents kung ano-ano ang mga taxes ang binabayaran nila. What are their taxes na i-deduct sa sweldo nila, na i-deduct sa kinikita nila. Ano-ano yun. Then you will know na even though fully paid ang isang property or isang land, you will still have to pay for the tax. Kahit di ba pag nag-grocery tayo, merong value added tax. Whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, magbabayad tayo ng tax. Yes po. Yes, Mr. Christian, nagbabayad pa din po. Pero iba ang real property tax sa due, what you call that, monthly dues ha, iba yon, magkaiba po yun. Iba yung monthly dues. Monthly dues is for the association, homeowners association, for the safety or security through the security guard, ganyan. Pag merong mga meetings, merong pa-snack, mga ganyan. Or pagagandahin yung office for the, call that, yung mga senior citizens office, mga ganyan. You have to pay for this. Ayan, may question pa. Yes, kailangan magbayad ng monthly dues. Those are obligations, tama? Obligation nyo yun. Natin, rather. So, lahat tayo nagbabayad. Monthly dues are obligations. Those are deductions, whether you like it or not. Dito, ang monthly dues namin per month ay, is it 200 or 300? Ayan. Imagine, for 1 year, magbabayad ka ng 3,600 or diba 12 months. 300. Pero hindi naman siya as in mabigat as compared to yung mga monthly bill, electric bill, ganyan, water and electric, telephone bill natin kasi with internet. Mababa lang. Pero you have to pay. Lahat tayo. We have the obligations to pay our taxes. Kahit yung mga vlogger, di ba, parang may mga vlogger na nag-stop na ng vlogging. It's because they are earning a lot na and they are paying higher taxes. It's because they are earning na malaki. Malaki yung earnings mo, mataas din ang taxes mo. Pag maliit, kaya yung iba, hindi nagde-declare ng kanilang earnings. Nadadaya ba? Hindi mo de-declare lahat ng inyong kinikita para maliit lang yung tax computation mo. Imagine. Pero, di ba, in a way, hindi sa parang gagawin mo yun para mapaliit yung taxes mo. Pero imagine if you are not parang benefiting sa binabayad mo ganitong kamahal na taxes, di ba? If you are not benefiting, hindi pa rin maganda ang pila sa mga establishments, hindi pa rin maganda yung parang mga boundaries ng mga cities, diba? Hindi pa rin, parang hindi tayo nagbe-benefit, pero magkano na ibabayad natin na taxes yearly, diba? Imagine the computation ng mga Bureau of Internal Revenue sa taxes na yun. Kaya talagang hindi maiwasan nagkakadayaan. Ang laki ng pera in that agency, government agency, which is the BIR. So, transaction and event can be used interchangeably, pero yung event kasi is more on broad term. To be specific, so to be exactly used, ang term na transaction will be gagamitin natin. Transaction tayo. So both are recorded when they have effect on the financial resources of a business. So the occurrence of a transaction daw is an event. The occurrence of a transaction is an event. Broader terms, the event. So lahat ng happenings is an event. Broader term. So to be specific, ang term na gagamitin natin ay transaction. So exchange of economic values Again, double entry bookkeeping system, values received and values ported with. Exchange of economic values. The grocery worth of 10,000 pesos, you receive the same amount, the same value, pero in the form of products na 10,000 pesos. Example, another example, investment. Let's say, Mr. Kevin Roque invested 100,000 pesos in the business. Cash is an asset account. Invested 100,000 pesos. And at the same time, capital, credit, capital is an owner's equity account. 100,000 pesos, same amount. Okay, double entry. Cash invested in the business, 100,000 pesos. Capital or owner's equity, 100,000 pesos. Equal amount. Double entry bookkeeping. Values received and values ported with. If we are going to apply using the equation asset equals liability plus owner's equity, so cash is an asset account, 100,000 pesos. We don't have our liability, so 0. And capital is an owner's equity account, 100,000 pesos. Same amount, balance. Investment. Investment. These are the entries when the owner invested in the business. Cash, asset account. Indent lang natin to indicate that capital is not an asset account. It is an owner's equity account. Indent natin, meaning hindi siya dapat lagi pantay kasi magkaiba na siyang account. Asset to, dito owner's equity. Double entry bookkeeping system. Withdraw of cash from ATM. Deduction to sa cash ng ininvest na cash ng owner sa business. Withdrawal. Deduction yun. Let's say 10,000 pesos. Nag-withdraw si owner ng 10,000 pesos. Mababawasan yung cash investment niya. Tama? At first, nag-invest siya 100,000 pesos. If the owner withdraws a certain amount in the business, merong deduction sa total investment na cash na 100,000 pesos. Therefore, magiging 90,000 pesos na lang ang total investment ng owner sa business. Kasi merong withdrawal. Merong reduction ng amount. Why are the others are turning off their camera? Next, what are internal and external events? Basically, when we say internal, these are inside events. This does not involve any transfer of resources or any obligation sa other party. Simple, just like this picture here. Production or manufacture ng raw materials to finish goods or finished product. Internal event. Inside event. Example then, let's say, business are being affected by the flood. Let's say sa area ng business na yon ay bahain or merong fault line prone to earthquake damage. Fortuitous events are events beyond the control of the human being. Ayan, na hindi nakokontrol, katulad ng baha at earthquake. Let's say, malulugi ang business kapag sila ay apektado ng baha or earthquake. Of course, the business will incur losses. Internal events. On the other hand, pag sinabi ng mga external events, this has obligation to other parties, katulad ng purchases. Ayan. So, bibili ka sa ibang party, sa ibang supplier. Okay, meron kang obligation to pay that amount. Payment of salaries, investment withdrawal, at sale ng mga products. Gabby, can you please read the definition ng business entity on the screen, please?
Sure, yung the business is assumed.
Tata.
Po. The business is assumed to have a personality distinct and separate from the personality of its owner or owners. A bookkeeper analyzes business transactions from the point of view of the business and not from those of the owner or the owners. Business assets, liabilities, revenue, and expenses are treated separately from those of the owner. Example, owner's investment and owner's withdrawal.
Okay, thank you. So, yung business daw is assumed or is defined to have a personality distinct and separate personality to its owner. Anong ibig sabihin nun? So, example, ito yung business. Ayan ang business. Ito yung mga owners in the business. Dumating yung time na maglo-loan si business ng pera sa bank. Okay, granted ng bank. Si business, let's say, 1 million pesos. Nigay ni bank. And then dumating din yung time na si bank cannot pay anymore that 1 million peso obligation. What does the business law say? Distinct and separate personality. Therefore, the bank cannot sue the owners of the business. Kailangan ang hahabulin ni bangko ay the business and not the owners kasi separate sila ng personality. Okay? Separate sila ng personality. Meaning, Iba na ang personality ng owner, ng business once registered. Iba ang personality na ng owner. Hiwalay or separate sila. So, the bank should sue the business and not the owner. Nakuha? Kasi under the business law, distinct at separate ang personality na ng business to its owner. Hiwalay na po. Once nag-register. Although, syempre, nakapangalan sa owner, pero ang sabi nga, it is separate na and distinct. Ibang tao na si business. Okay, nakuha po ang definition natin ng distinct and separate personality. Next, a bookkeeper analyzes business transactions from the point of view ng business and not from the owner. So, palagi, if the same example, ganyan, kung ang business ay hindi na makapagbayad ng amount, a certain amount or obligation niya sa bangko, the bookkeeper or the accountant should make sure that he or she is doing computation on the point of view ng business at hindi para sa mga owners nito. So, ang computation dapat, ang mga amounts should not be manipulated by the bookkeeper on the part ng owner. Dapat it is on the part ng business. Let's say, binayaran siya, partnership ang business. Binayaran siya ng isang owner ng business, ng isang partner to manipulate or i-edit or ibahin yung amount na in-invest niya in the business. Instead of 100,000 pesos, nilagay niya 1 million ang shares niya in the business. The bookkeeper, the accountant should not favor any of the parties. The bookkeeper or accountant should favor only the business. The point of view lang dapat ng business and not the owners of it. Next, business assets, liabilities, revenue, expenses are treated separately from those of the owner. Same. If kahit ako ang owner ng isang business and meron akong ni-loan from my name, hindi dapat nakakonect doon yung aking mga business name. Hindi dapat na hinahabol or ang may obligation dapat ay yung mga business ko. No. Dapat the name itself or the owner itself only. Katulad nito, owner's investment at owner's withdrawal. Okay, when we say owner's investment, ang deduction lang, syempre sa owner's shares in the business. Owner's withdrawal, ang bawas lang, of course, dun lang sa share ng owner sa business. Okay. Ano naman yung binabanggit ng mga accounting periods? So these are the results of operations and financial position of a business are measured periodically. It's either daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Again, crucial ang yearly kasi closing of books at the end of the year. The amount, so pag nagko-close ng book, literally or figuratively, pag close ng book, parehas po dinedefine, when I say closing of book, the operations, the financial operations ng business, okay, Yung mga amounts kasi na ni-record ni bookkeeper or ni accountant ay kinukuha yung final amount at the end of the day. When i-close na yung store, let's say, ang closing ng store ay 7 p.m. So, yung lahat ng mga amounts na inflow or outflow in the business that time, ikino-close siya. Para i-carry over yung last amount na yon to the next day. Yung last amount na yon i-carry over to the next day. So, another accounting steps ka na ulit. Nag-i-start ka doon sa last amount na natira on the previous day. Nakuha. Kini-carry over siya for in preparation sa next day. Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Yung yearly, syempre, at the end of December. December. So, crucial yan lagi. Tapos, i-carry over, close na ng book, carry over the amount para meron ka ng starting amount sa January next year. Doon sa parating na ng year. Ganun din kahit daily. Kapag weekly naman, let's say nagko-close ng book Sunday night. Sunday night ang closing ng book. Para pagdating ng Monday morning, another amount na. The last amount recorded on the previous day, yun ang kini-carry over next day, next morning. Tulad niyan, salary. The business should know kailan ang swelduhan ng business. Merong daily, merong mga wage earner, daily earners. Per day ang kanilang rate. Meron ding weekly. Meron din monthly, but not quarterly, masyadong matagal. Swelduhan if it's quarterly. Now, let's start with the first major account, which is the asset. So, ito yung mga terms used in the business under asset major account. Hindi pa ito lahat yon, but ayan, masyado siyang madami. Cash, these are currency, these are bills, monetary value, those are cash. Checks can also be applicable pa rin today, ang mga cheque. Basta hindi bouncing check. When we say bouncing check, walang laman or walang pondo yung account. Accounts receivable, these are amounts collectible from customers or clients. Let's say I sold 10 pieces of perfume to Miss Nicole. Example, 10,000. 10,000 because 1,000 pesos per bottle. Okay. I already delivered that 10 pieces of perfume to Miss Nicole, but she hasn't paid that 10,000 worth of amount. On the point of view of business, I already earned. I will record that as my account receivable, 10,000 pesos. I know that I will collect that 10,000 pesos some other time. I will be receiving that 10,000 pesos some other time. Record 10,000 pesos accounts receivable. Next, merchandise inventory. These are goods acquired for sale and are still unsold. Example, sa mga shelves, sa mga grocery stores, lahat ng naka-display, lahat ng nakikita nyo na for sale, those are called merchandise inventory. Each product are getting yung value nun. Total that all, computed lahat yon, and nire-record siya as merchandise inventory. Available to be sold. Lahat ng yon naka-display. Kino-compute yung amount. Naka-record siya as merchandise inventory and total to asset account. Next, notes receivable. Ayan, do not be confused with accounts receivable and notes receivable kasi ang notes receivable ay amounts collected that are covered by promissory notes. Pag meron kayong nakitang note and then there's collection, you will record that under notes receivable, or else pag walang nakastate sa transaction na promissory note, you will record that under accounts receivable. Okay? Yon ang magiging clue nyo, yung promissory note. Example, dito sa San Lorenzo School, meron pa tayo, let's say ang tuition ay 30,000 pesos. Ang nabayaran pa lang natin ay kalahati, 15,000 pesos. The other 15,000 pesos unbalanced, unpaid amount. On the point of view ng San Lorenzo School, those are accounts receivable. But me as the client, as their client, I cannot pay at this moment. So gagawa ko ng promissory note indicating that I will pay that 15,000 pesos amount on the time na magkakapera na ako. Therefore, kapag nakapagbayad or nakapag-provide ako ng promissory note, i-record na ng school or ng business yung 15,000 pesos amount na yon under notes receivable. Okay? Nakuha niyo yung difference? Okay. Either way, both are an asset account. Pero, you should know the difference na kapag parehas siyang collectible, pero yung isa note, syempre under notes receivable. Yung isa under accounts, naka-hold yung payment. Prepaid expenses. Expenses to be incurred yet in the future but are already paid. Ito lang ang nag-iisang asset account na may expenses sa title. Prepaid expenses, siya lang po ang nag-iisang asset account na mayroong expenses sa title. Ano bang example? Let's say insurance. Insurance will be record under prepaid expenses. Insurance. Ayan. Let's say yung bahay nyo, in-insured nyo, yung sasakyan ay in-insured nyo. Okay? O let's say knock on wood, yung sasakyan na ginagamit pang delivery, example ay let's say wala namang accident. Okay? But before that happens, gusto nyo na i-insured yung sasakyan na yun. So, in case na may mangyari, you will be paid by the insurance company. Pero pag wala pa, you should pay your obligation sa insurance company para meron kang makukuha if accident happens. So, kung hindi pa nangyayari yung event na yon, okay, kailangan bayaran mo na siya. So, as you can see, expenses to be incurred yet in the future but are already paid. Bayad na. Binabayaran nyo na yung insurance kahit wala pang accident. Diba? Ganun yun. Kailangan bayaran na siya although wala pang event happening. Insurance is an example of a prepaid expenses. Katulad ng example lang madali, yung mga prepaid loads nyo, from the term prepaid loads nyo, binili nyo na, nabayaran nyo na, inilagay nyo na sa, niload na sa inyo, nandun lang sa cellphone nyo, nandun lang, hindi pa siya na uubos, hindi nyo pa nagagamit lahat. 100 pesos. Nakuha yung concept ng prepaid. Yan. Nabayaran nyo na, although paid na siya, pero nakastore siya sa cellphone nyo, hindi nyo pa nauubos yung 100 pesos na load. Prepaid, bayad na siya, pero hindi pa siya nagagamit. It is for future pa. So, nandito tayo, prepaid expenses. Nag-end. Ayan. So, I hope you learned something today. Class. I'll see you again on Monday na tayo ulit. Monday.